Welcome to the H.I.P podcast, where we believe the real experts on healing are those who've lived it. I'm Shaya, director of the H.I.P Counseling Center, and on this show, we give voice to the incredible journeys of those who've navigated attachment challenges and complex trauma. Here, you'll hear from clients of therapy themselves about what truly helped them and how they found their path to healing. I am so glad you're here. Thanks for joining us. Joined by Tzipora Schiffer, a licensed clinical social worker, a mother of 6, and someone whose personal journey profoundly shaped the therapist she has become. In this episode, we talk about what it's like to grow up knowing that something inside you hurts, but not having words for it, to move through therapy after therapy, where maybe you present well, where you function, and you still leave feeling unseen, and to carry deep attachment wounds while being told implicitly or explicitly that your needs are too much, confusing, or not the real issue. Tzipora shares with honesty and nuance how attachment trauma can be subtle and deeply shaming, especially when it's misunderstood or mishandled in therapy. We explore how good intentions aren't always enough, how boundaries without attunement can wound, and how healing doesn't come from fixing behaviors, but from being met in relationship. This is also a conversation about hope, about learning to trust your own inner knowing, about reclaiming your voice, and about discovering that sensitivity is not a flaw, but a strength. Whether you are a client who has felt lost or blamed in therapy, or a therapist wanting to reflect more deeply on the power of the healing relationship, this episode invites you to slow down and listen carefully. Let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the H.I.P podcast. Today, I'm so excited to be talking to Tzipora Schiffer, somebody who I've actually heard about a long time ago. So I'm really excited to speak with her about her journey as somebody who has struggled with attachment challenges and navigated the world of healing and therapy and is now a therapist herself. So it's a super exciting perspective. So we're just going to dive right in. Tzipora, how about you introduce yourself?
Oh, wow. Okay. So many things, so many directions I could go in introducing myself, I'm Tzipora Schiffer. I live in Muncie, New York. I'm currently sitting in my home office that I decorated and love so much. I am married, a mother of 6, Baruch Hashem. I grew up in Toronto, the youngest of 8. I didn't graduate high school when I was in my 30s. I went back to school and started with my GED, actually. And here I am, an LCSW, licensed in New York, New Jersey, Oregon, and Maryland is coming. And I'm a level 3 ADP therapist. I'm a kidney donor. That's all the things I can think of right now.
Well, so far you've blown me away. Not finishing high school to a master's level clinician. That's pretty
Baruch
that's
Hashem.
pretty significant.
Yeah.
And also a kidney donor.
Yeah.
That's really special. Wow.
Yeah.
And you have a home office, and I see you're into decorating. Maybe we could take you up on your services.
I'm into photography in Eretz Israel. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, so I guess take us through the journey of attachment, your experiences around relationships, the challenges of them.
Yes.
And we'll take it from there.
Yes, thank you. So it's so interesting because when you said that she's going to talk about her journey in attachment, I'm like, wait, is that my story? And I think one of the biggest challenges of attachment challenges is that, like, a lot of us don't have a name for it. Like, I know that something is off, but it doesn't fit into the boxes they talk about when they talk about mental health and breaking the stigma. Like, those things, not so much. Like, I struggled and, like, I could check off a lot of boxes, but that wasn't the main thing. And it took so many false starts, not only false starts, like, really damaging long term situations that were supposedly helping me until I realized what the challenge actually was. And then until I got into a situation where that challenge could be properly addressed. So even once I knew what it was, I don't know that it was necessarily being properly addressed. That feeling goes back as long as I could remember, honestly.
Tzipora, could I slow you down right here just for 1 second? Because I just want to honor something you said that I think a lot of listeners are going to resonate with, which is that you couldn't even put words or a name to the struggle.
Yeah.
You just know something's not right or something, maybe intuitively.
Yeah.
But to identify, like, what is that thing
Yeah.
is just, I don't know. And I don't know who even knows to think about therapy necessarily.
And even
right? It's just
And even when I got close to thinking I knew what it was, I knew that that wasn't really a thing. So that would come with shame and just push it away again.
Which is the attachment challenge.
Yeah.
You knew that it could be that,
Yeah.
but that's not a thing.
Yeah.
Because how do I know that's not a thing? Where do I learn that?
Because, like, that's weird. We don't talk about that. And if you try to talk about that, we giggle at you. It's like, not.
Right.
So I had like a couple of things prepared to make sure that I want to say, and there's something that feels really important to me. So before I continue talking about the attachment challenge, I want to say it right here, if that's okay.
Sure.
In my journey and in my training and my work that I do, I've come to understand very, very deeply it's two things. First of all, one feels more urgent, but I want to say them in order. So there's two things. One of them is that you don't have to have a story to need and deserve healing. Like, there doesn't have to be like the story with a capital S of what happened to you. A lot of people do. I recognize that, and that's really too. But for somebody like me, who for so many years was asked, okay, so what happened to you? Even though like they were officially trauma, and I guess they thought they were trauma informed if they were saying what happened to you. And I didn't really know what happened to me. And the things that happened to me never really seemed to measure up to equal the way I was feeling. So I guess knowing about attachment wounds, I know that yes, something happened, and that's called happened. But even if you don't know what it is, if you're in pain, you're entitled to connection, you're entitled to healing. So that's the first one. The second thing I want to say is I hesitated doing this whole thing because I don't want to say anything bad about my parents, and it's not because I'm in denial. It could be one day I was. I can honestly say with a full heart that my parents are two of the most special people in the world. I look up to them. They're role models in so many ways. I could list them, but I love them and I know that they love me. And I recognize that they're human beings and my neshama has a certain journey. So I can recognize that certain things that they did or didn't do, not out of maliciousness at all, only from lack of awareness or lack of capacity, those things hurt me very much. So my journey in healing is long, like it spans decades. And I do connect it to the way that I was raised, but not by saying that my parents did bad things. And I see that for a lot of people, that's a really hard thing to accept, especially like myself as a mother. I could say, like, that's a really scary thing to say that I could, like, even if I try my hardest and work on myself, my child still might be hurt by me. And that's a really scary thing to face. And I'm really, really grateful that I feel like it's a kind of curve. Like, first there's denial. A lot of people have this trajectory that first there's denial, and then there's like all out rage and anger or real grief and understanding of what was done to me, and perhaps there's a need for that stage, but then being able to come around and understand if they're good people. And I understand some people really aren't, but I think many of us that are dealing with this type of stuff aren't dealing with malicious parents, to be able to come back around and say, wow, they are really, really good people and they're human with human capacity. And to me, that's where the serenity prayer really helps, like the what I can do, what I can't do, and being able to accept that. So I want to say that just before saying anything else, because even if certain things happen because of the ways that my parents communicated or didn't communicate, or because of their limitations or what they thought was really important, I fully trust that they tried their best, and this is a story that Hashem wanted for me.
I love that you're talking about this. First of all, with such gentleness and compassion, which is really special. And also, there's so many people who like are sort of like afraid maybe to meet a therapist or to explore something inside of themselves because of like this fear that like I'm going to end up angry at my parents or in a really dark place. And maybe therapists get a reputation for like home wrecking or something like that. When really what a good therapist is all about is enhancing and improving relationship, right?
I want to just say that I'm very lucky. I really feel that my parents are unique in that when I have the courage to bring something to them, they generally can hear me. Not everybody has that. So sometimes therapy does home wreck because you have this picture and then somebody gets some healing and they realize there's certain treatment that they're not accepting anymore. Their nervous system realizes that it can't handle it and they don't go back for more. So then look, she went to therapy and now she doesn't talk to, and now she talks much less to her parents.
Right. And then the therapy gets blamed for it. So it's complicated.
Yeah.
It's definitely complicated. And I think as a therapist, you would agree that we definitely want to try to enhance relationships as much as possible. Sometimes we need to have boundaries around relationships, when we're getting hurt in the way. But we certainly don't want to propel the idea that like people are better off out of relationships that are meaningful. We certainly want to keep people in relationship as much as possible,
Yes,
and
yes,
unfortunately sometimes in certain relationships, in certain ways, very personal to each
yeah,
person, we may
yeah.
have to make adjustments, right?
Right, right. And
But
let's
that's
notice
because
also
the
that
person,
it's the person making the adjustment, not us.
right, that's because the
Right.
person has been dealing with this already before they came to therapy
Exactly.
and has now new awareness
Yeah.
and may need to make choices that they make for themselves.
Right.
Therapists don't hijack someone's brain
Right.
unless obviously they're bad and abusive therapists, which
Yeah.
obviously is out there.
Yeah.
But for the most part, we don't hijack somebody and just make them a certain type of way, right?
Right.
We help them discover themselves. So I love that you're talking about that because you're, I think, a beacon of light for people who are scared to tiptoe into the space of
Yeah.
healing.
Yeah.
If I'm just going to end up angry or I'm just going to end
Mm.
up upset, when you can hold a very wide
Yeah.
perspective, which is, I get why this happened. It makes sense to me. And I got impacted by it. And I'm going to grow through it. It's such a beautiful space.
And I'm
So
gonna
thank you
still
for that.
like the people that did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can keep them around. Yeah.
Yeah.
In this case. And there's something else you said. I can't help myself but go back to it. And the first thing you said, when you said, I think I was by trauma informed people because they said, what happened to you? So I just want to comment on that if I can. Um,
I said I think
I
they
love
thought they
it.
were trauma informed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for everyone to know that the stories that did or didn't happen to you is not what's necessary to get help. Like you were trying to say, I think you were saying that very well. But I just want to like highlight a piece of it, which is like there's a difference between trauma informed that you know about the diagnosis called PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder, and then there's a whole nother trauma type, which we're talking about today, which is not that, which is maybe has some similarities, but totally, totally different, which is the relational trauma. And to be relationally trauma informed, we don't need to know what happened to you to get you help. We
Exactly.
just can see that you're hurting. We can
Mm.
read your nervous system and sense that there's a huge impact because of some stories that did or didn't happen
Mm.
that left an imprint on the nervous system.
Yes.
And you can be helped just
Yeah.
by showing up by
Yes.
someone who's
Exactly.
truly complex trauma informed. Yeah,
Yeah. So it's not about digging in the dirt and always wallowing in the past, and
that's
that's
right.
what trauma.
That's right.
It's
And that's
about what's
also like
showing
we
up
get a
right
bad
here,
rap.
right now.
Like
Yeah.
right here, right
Yeah.
now. And we can work with that layer
Right here, right now,
because,
between me and you. Yeah.
yeah, because the therapist is going to trigger those wounds. The nervous system's going to start communicating because it's in relationship with the therapist. And now we can just
Okay.
tune in and say, something's happening here. I'm getting
Yeah.
curious about that.
Yeah.
And let's work right here. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tzipora. Keep it
Yeah.
going.
Okay. So for as long as I could remember, I had this sense. I think people that know me from before or even now might be surprised, unless I shared with them because I'm quite an open oversharer. They might be surprised to hear this because I always seemed to be very confident. I always had a lot to say for myself. I was always very loud, very opinionated. I had friends, but something inside me always felt like I was different. I never really made it. Sometimes I have memories of high school and it's like, oh, right, that's what they did. Not me. Like, even though I was in the school, it was like they did it and I watched. Even
Mm-hmm.
though I made it look like I was watching by choice and things like that. Like, I didn't look like an Ebech at all, as far as I know. Anybody thinks differently, let me know. I'm curious. Maybe a little bit at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning till I
Mm-hmm.
adjusted. This sense of not fitting in. So, definitely, it wasn't helped by the fact that I was the new girl in the class. I think I counted 8 times. It was interesting when I was leaving the clinic to go private, I had a really strong reaction and I realized that my body was reacting to leaving the cohort again. And even though it was a
Mm-hmm.
really good step and I was really excited to be advancing in my career, it was like, oh my gosh, everyone's going to stay together without me and I'm going to be the new girl again, except in this case, I'm not the new girl. I'm just my own boss because we moved a lot and I skipped because I was so smart and I switched schools and I left school early to go to seminary and I left seminary early to go back home. So between all of those things, it really didn't, except people didn't realize that it was hard for me as a new girl because I came in full of life and full of like things to say about the place that I used to live in. And so I didn't like if you looked a little deeper, you could see, but on the surface, it didn't look like I was a kid struggling at all.
That's really important
Yeah.
to highlight.
Yeah.
there's like an intense internal struggle
Yeah.
that I don't know if you were tuned into then the way you are now. I don't know.
No, no,
But
no.
on the surface, like you're totally okay.
Yeah.
And then you
Yeah.
start to maybe feel crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what's up with me? Like, I know I feel different. And I hear that
Mhm.
a lot, by the way, from complex trauma survivors where they're like, I'm just so different. You know, they
Yeah.
have this like sense, like, just there's something so different
Yeah.
about me. At the
Yeah.
same time, they're like trying to fit in. So,
Yeah.
and you can't really tell. It's not like they're
Yeah.
like off in that way.
I would always have these fantasies of something really bad happening to me because then I'll be different and people will know and I'll get compassion. And then I judged myself for having those fantasies because what's wrong with you for wanting something bad to happen? So I think
Yeah.
I was confused, so I wanted that clarity. I wanted there to officially be something wrong with me because then I would make sense. But there
And then I'll
wasn't.
be noticed and
And
get
then
the
I'll be
care that I
noticed.
need.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard this many times. Tzipora, like people were actually dialing to get
Yeah.
sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that people can come take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
They have parts of them that are
Yeah.
so alone, so
Yeah.
lonely, so
Yeah.
hurting,
Right.
and this will get the care.
And these are people that are not
Yeah.
necessarily getting diagnosed with personality disorders because they're keeping it together. They're behaving appropriately,
Yeah.
right? But inside, and also, yes, with the diagnoses, but inside, there's this yawning chasm of see me, notice me. I had a really, really sweet teacher in high school. So things became obvious in the middle of 11th grade. I was already scheduled to leave school after 11th grade, and that's why I didn't finish high school. But I stopped in the middle of 11th grade. I stopped being able to focus in class. I started wandering the hallways. But again, even then, you had to really look to see that I was suffering. My mother was on staff, and I used to like go hang out in her office, and it was funny and fun. And it
Mm.
was like all the teachers knew me and liked me. And there was this one really, really sweet teacher. I remember one day I was wandering the hallways, and she just took me in her car and drove around in the parking lot and chatted with me a little bit. There was another teacher who actually arranged therapy for me. I told her that I didn't want my parents to know. Maybe since I was over 16, it was, I don't even know what the story was, like how that worked. But
Mm.
she took me for 2 sessions. I never opened up to that person because it was so deep. Like, I'm not going to talk to this woman just because you took me here. So that was my first experience in therapy. The next one,
Can I
yeah.
ask before you go
Hmm.
on if you knew what you needed help
Yeah.
with?
No, I don't.
You did?
No, no.
Yeah.
I
Can we
needed
name
help
that?
with not making my skirt too short and not flunking all my classes except for one class where the teacher really liked me and I really liked her. That's what
Right.
I saw.
But that's right. So there was this much deeper
Yeah.
struggle going on.
Yeah.
And like, I don't even know necessarily what's going on with
Right.
me, but this is what it looks
Yeah.
like. And like, therapy is the right place for that. Like, it just feels funny,
Right.
maybe,
Right.
or off. I just want to label that because so many people come to therapy and they show up and they're like, don't really know why they're there,
Right.
right? But like their
Yeah.
family or they hear their friends talk
Yeah.
about it and they always feel
Mm-hmm.
off. So they're just
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm here.
Yeah.
And then what does a typical therapist do on an intake? What's like the
When
first classic
when
question?
did this start? What are your symptoms?
Yeah.
How
And like what
what are
brings you
your
here?
goals?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
I
And
love doing
and
this.
the what?
I love doing
You're
this.
reliving some stuff. And the client's sitting there going like, oh shoot.
And then it's like, oh, I can't even do
Like in their
therapy
head,
right.
I can't even do therapy right. I can't verbalize
Yeah.
what's going on with me. I don't have a goal. I'm literally my nervous system just surviving. So I can't even think on such a level.
Yeah.
Like I have a goal, I
Yeah.
have a possibility, a want. These are all things
Yeah.
that I don't get to have. So it's like now I'm feeling pressured on this couch
Yeah.
to like come up with something. And the therapist just like staring back at me. And I'm just like, uh-oh.
Right.
And I need attachment and
Yeah.
connection and
But
care.
I don't know that that
And
happens in
like,
therapy because then you're
I don't know, but I heard maybe.
no, no, because
I don't know.
those therapists don't
I
have
didn't hear.
boundaries and they're not healthy. You're supposed to be very
Oh, okay.
professional and you're not supposed to really have a
Right.
relationship with them. You're just supposed to go. That's like going to a doctor.
Right.
So like you go to them for your
Right.
anxiety.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't obsess over
Yeah. Yeah.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first couple of experiences, I was just like, no, I just didn't open up, and then I just didn't go back, and that was it. Again in seminary, again, somebody from back home realized that I was struggling and arranged it. There actually, he did, I think EFT tapping, but the things that I was, for some reason, I felt safe enough to talk about what was actually bothering me, and it was around relationships. But then I left, so I never went back to that person. The way I understand it is I went to seminary instead of 12th grade, and I spent months living in the same vicinity as people who were emotionally open and demonstrative, and it really wreaked havoc with my system because I didn't know. I had a very when I left early, goodbye parties was one of the stories of my life. So many goodbye parties. At the end of 11th grade, my class made me this gorgeous goodbye party, and it was a joke that everybody's gonna hug Tzipora in a picture because they all knew I was the one that didn't come close to anybody. And it was so crazy because I craved it so bad. But because I craved it so bad, I had to tell myself that it disgusted me. If I couldn't have it, it's going to be disgusting. I know that now. I mean, I knew that pretty early on.
Wow.
Last
Wow.
week,
Protection.
my niece got married, and I was watching her younger sisters who are around the age I was then, and their friends were coming and they were greeting them, and they were happy to see them, and they were friendly and affectionate. And my heart was just, it was so beautiful. Like, I'm just so happy that this is normal and they have it and they don't have to pretend they don't like it. And they're just healthy teenage kids connecting to other healthy teenage kids. And like, that's it. And for me, I would watch that from my friends, want it so bad, have so much shame about wanting it. That was for me. So in seminary, there were all these people around, and it was just like a lot of emotion happening, like a lot of intensity, no sleep, like, and that's where I really had my first crisis, I guess. And that's why eventually I left at the end of that year. When I came back, so my mother knew that I came back because I had been having a hard time there, and she researched and took me to a therapist who was supposed to be good. Like, my mother knew that this is what you're supposed to do when you struggle, right? I went 3 times to that therapist, and there I
Okay.
was able to talk about the relationship stuff that was really distressing to me. But then I was leaving, so I didn't go back to that person. And then I came home, and so my struggle had, for part of the time, looked like I was struggling with Yiddishkeit. I say looked like because even at the time I was very aware that that was a very like surface reaction. Like, I didn't know what to do, so I did that. When I came home, my mother actually took me for therapy. I went to this woman 3 times, and at the end of the third time, she said, "I don't think there's anything I could help you with. I think you're fine." And then I kind of flipped a switch and I got super religious. And 5 months later, I was engaged. And 5 months after that, I was married. And a year after that, I had a baby boy. And 6 months after that, the anxiety got out of control. And that's really where my story starts.
Mm. Your story started a long time ago, but we'll start
My,
this
my
chapter.
therapy journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I just want to honor just another thing.
Yeah.
You keep giving us these gems,
Yeah.
and then, but I have more to get to,
Yeah.
which are probably also amazing. Just I wanted to say that I think that's also very common where people do go to
Mm-hmm.
therapists and they present
Right.
well, they function pretty well
Mm-hmm.
on the surface,
Yeah.
and they don't have words for what they're experiencing.
Right.
And the therapist does that classic intake, like, why are you
Right.
here? And I don't
Right.
know. And we're just like in this back and forth. And then we're just, okay, you're just good. I don't know how I could help you. And you're
But
fine.
I think another thing that for people with relational trauma, that sensitivity to rejection, and for me to feeling stupid, is so powerful that I'm always
Yeah.
scanning. Now I know, then I didn't know. I'm always
Mm-hmm.
scanning to see, do I make sense here? And could I say this? Will she think I'm crazy? So I had, the
Mm-hmm.
safety has to be off the charts for me to even think of sharing something that someone
Yeah.
else might not think comes in here. Because if you're going to say, like, and I did have that experience later on where I would say things and they would be like, no, that's not really a thing, or that's not such a big deal, or tell me something else. So my fears were real. So I'm not,
Oh, yeah.
so even if I would have had words for what my distress was, and I think on some level I did, even I had a lot of shame about it. My struggles that were relationship based gave me an incredible amount of shame. So just because you're the lady with the letters after your name doesn't mean I'm going to tell you about it.
Yeah.
So it's not only that I don't have words for it, it's just I don't trust that I can talk about it here and not be
Yeah.
shamed.
I don't trust that I can trust what I'm feeling. I also don't trust that I can share it with you and you're going to stick around for me
And you're not going to shame me. For me, that was the biggest
and
thing.
not shame
If
me
you're gonna, if
and
you're
put me
gonna,
down.
this is one
Yeah.
thing that I can say, and I'm going to say because I don't think they did it maliciously. I'm the youngest in my family. Kanai and her were all pretty bright, so everybody was always smarter than me. And again, I know now that I was a beloved little sister. But then I didn't feel it. I just felt like I was being brushed away. I just felt like their ideas were louder and smarter. And my parents' way of dealing with stuff very much, and it was a very good idea when being raised in the shadow of the Holocaust, was to like brush things away, right?
Hmm.
So if things, and so not in an abusive way, it's just like we don't need to deal with that. So if I was having an experience and my big sister knew that it was stupid and my mother didn't think it was worth getting upset about, then
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And the impact of that
yeah,
is I feel ashamed to have these feelings,
100%.
even though that wasn't an intentional impact.
Exactly.
But that's just what happens inadvertently
Yeah.
when you get messaging of like, that's not valuable,
Right.
that's not
Right.
important, don't tune into that, don't worry about that.
Exactly. Exactly.
Which is really coming from like, I want to soothe you until you're
100%.
okay.
100%.
But I'm also not seeing you, and I don't know that that's important
Right.
to see you
Right.
and to be with
No.
you in this feeling. So it just feels dismissive inside the nervous system,
Exactly.
even though that's not what it was intended
Exactly.
to be.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's why at the beginning of my journey, I was so confused because I knew I had such good parents. Like when I had a
Yeah.
crisis, they came from out of town. Like they were there. Their generosity and their generosity with no
Mm.
strings attached, like it doesn't exist. And,
Yeah.
but so why was I hurting so much? So now
Yeah.
sometimes I have these memories of that dismissiveness and it's like, yeah, like, so now I have a story, but it's so subtle. It's so subtle. And then the way that it plays out in therapy. So again, we turned to my mother for help when my anxiety was off the charts when my oldest was a baby. And there was a sense of relief for me because I'm postpartum, I have anxiety, there's help for this. Already in the second or third session, I started to have this feeling of obsession, of I don't even know how to explain it. I guess obsession is a good word, although some people think that's derogatory. She was very loving, she was very kind, and that made the anxiety move away. It's tilted. It was a long time ago, but it's really hard for me to speak about. She was really kind and really loving, and she didn't know about boundaries, but she thought she did.
Mm.
I first heard the word boundaries when she told me that I don't have boundaries. And here is where I have something that I want to be quoted on, which is I don't believe there's such a thing as a client without boundaries. It's on the therapist to know what her boundaries are and to enforce them without shame. And I finally had a person where I could talk about my stuff. It was my time. I paid for it. I was supposed to be there. I didn't have to feel bad about taking up too much space because that was always the thing for me. I always loved to talk and have people look at me, and there was shame with that. So here is my space. It's supposed to be this way. And of
Yeah.
course, I want more. Of course, I want more. So I used to think in the years after I was processing what happened, because I was with her for a few years. So what happened with her is that the idea that wanting connection is shameful got reinforced because
Yeah.
here I am getting the connection and then getting shamed when I ask for more. She gave me her cell phone number and her home number, which today I know is neutral. You a therapist could give their number, a therapist could choose not to give the number. A therapist has to decide what their capacity is, how often they're going to answer the phone, how often they're going to respond, and they can have a conversation about that in session. So when I was trying to make sense of it, I had a whole list of kind relational things that she did that I believed were problematic. I thought she doesn't have boundaries because like she's being kind to me, or she's sharing this, this self-disclosure with me, all these things. I couldn't understand like what actually went wrong. But with a lot of hindsight and a lot of additional work, what became clear to me wasn't that she was kind and loving. It was wonderful that she was kind and loving. It was problematic. She didn't know what her limits were. And then she offloaded that onto me, including the shame. There were certain things that I wonder if I can say this. Maybe we'll edit it out afterwards. She used to hug me a lot. And
Mm.
we didn't tell anybody about it because there's so much shame around that, and it might be inappropriate. And she would talk about it, and she clearly had shame about it. And it came to a point where she would say, I can't do this anymore. And I would beg her, and she would.
Mhm.
So today I know touch and therapy is not such a big deal. It's a big deal. You have to have capacity. You have to know what's
Yeah.
appropriate. You have to know where you're at. You have to know where your client's at. Then the only way I could
Mhm.
understand it was like, oh my gosh, she's such a sex therapist. She hugged me. No, because what did that do to me? It put me back in the place where there's something wrong with me because I want her to hug me.
Yeah.
because she put that on me. Because she
That's
put
right.
that
So
on
she's
me.
giving you
She's
that
giving me her
energy.
shame.
Yeah. So if we could slow it down, because I think so many people are going to be resonating with this. And right now, like this big anxiety feelings coming over them or some heaviness. So I just want to slow down just for a second. And also just to like put it in perspective. Like there are parts of us that are yearning so strongly, whatever the right word is, for connection, right? And we're missing that. That's what's missing.
Yeah.
Now we come to therapy and we get a taste
Yeah.
of compassion and care,
Yeah.
gentleness, whatever capacity you're getting from the
Yeah.
therapist. And you said, of course I want more. If I could just like maybe also say I need more, right? These parts of me need
Yeah.
more, right? They needed
Yeah.
more and they're still here.
Yeah.
They're still here. And that's also why I'm coming to therapy. So let's slow down. This
Although
is like
that
the reason why
that
I'm
that
here.
wasn't spoken though. I came for
Yeah.
anxiety.
Yeah. But we're going to now tell all the
Yeah.
clients out there who can learn this about
Yeah.
themselves, hopefully. And maybe they have this sense that, like, it's very, very possible that you're sitting in therapy because of this emptiness
Yeah.
and pain and these parts of you that are so hurt
Yeah.
from not getting that attunement, which is necessary for development. And now you come with this. And that's the thing that you're shamed around by the very person who's supposed to help you regulate around it. So that's just like, let's just put that out there as something that so many people have encountered. So many people have encountered. And I'm sorry,
Thank you.
like, really, that you have to go through that because you actually don't know what's healthy as the
Exactly.
client,
Exactly.
right? You come just like your system just reacts like automatically. This is not like a conscious thing. Oh, I want to be obsessed with my therapist today.
Exactly.
You know, I just want to think about them all day long, right? That's not something that a client chooses to do. There's no
And I don't
choice.
actually want it because number one, it's so painful to obsess about
It's
something
so
all day that you can't
painful.
have, and it's so
Yeah.
shameful.
So shameful. It's consuming me. I can't talk about it with anyone because they think I'm crazy. They're going to
Exactly.
think I'm crazy.
Exactly.
So I just like keep this a secret. Maybe I can't even tell my therapist
Right.
because I sense that they can't handle it either.
Exactly. They're gonna make me
So I'm
go
just,
away.
so then what happens? I'm again alone in my feelings and without attachment
With the
and
extra
without
level
connection
of
of shame.
and now there's no hope. I
There's
went to
no hope
therapy.
because, yes, this is such a tender spot. And it is, I agree with you, the therapist's role to be the model of
Always.
what
Always.
healthy relationship looks like
Always.
and to expect that a client with attachment challenges with their different attachment styles, let's just say this is Tzipora style, there's other
Right.
attachment styles that will show up, that we expect that they're going to show up.
Yes.
Like, let's welcome it.
Yes.
Let's meet.
Yeah.
Let's meet it. Let's connect to it and say, you make sense. It makes sense that this is happening for you.
Yeah.
There's so much compassion here for that
Yes.
struggle.
Yes.
And let's see how we can
Yes.
navigate this
Yes.
where I'm going to take the lead as the
Yes.
therapist
Yeah.
because your system can't lead.
Yeah.
That's why you're here.
Yeah.
And I'll take the lead until you can lead. We're going to help you figure out how to lead.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
this word dependency is like blinking in front of me right now with all the people listening,
Yeah.
all the therapists
Yeah.
maybe who are like, you're just creating
You're
dependency.
not
What are you
creating
doing
dependency. You're
here?
making space for it. It exists.
Right. So let's just be super clear that the goal, not the client's goal,
Yeah.
but the goal of therapy is to help somebody become more independent.
Yes.
But there is no such thing as becoming independent in a relationship or in relationship with yourself until you've depended on someone else. This is basic, very, very basic.
Yes.
Let's take a child, an infant who's born. Imagine just like they come out of the womb and you're like, have a good one,
Right.
right? Just figure out how to be okay.
Right.
Obviously, everybody here would say that's ridiculous,
The
right?
problem is
So,
the problem is that there's things like sleep training, for example, that work.
yeah,
They work.
that's right.
Right? They're shut down. And
Yeah,
I believe that's happening in therapy too. I learned to regulate myself. I learned to shut myself down. I learned to believe that I don't really need anybody else.
right. It's basically, so let's just highlight what you're saying. The idea of sleep training is I see that you're screaming and crying or whatever. I'm going to leave you alone by yourself, right? And then you're going to stop.
Right.
So why? Because you're basically, first of all, in the beginning, just terrified. Second of all, you just give up on having a need. and you get just exhausted
Yeah.
from screaming so much and nobody comes, there's no point. I just have to just ignore that all and go to sleep because I'm so tired from screaming. Right.
Right.
And the message there is behave. Just behave. Don't give me a headache.
Yeah.
Don't give me a problem. And I think a lot of parents don't realize that that's what's
I
happening
don't think
because
they're
there's a
doing it
lot
on
of
purpose.
professionals.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah,
lot
for
of
sure.
professionals who are into this idea. But in therapy, what you're saying is that the same process is going to play out
Yeah.
where this infant, so to speak, or toddler is showing up to therapy. I don't care if they're 35, 45, 55, 85.
Yes.
You're not, I once put out a post like, there's no such thing as somebody who only treats adults as a therapist.
Love that.
Like, it's so nice that you can like convince yourself that you only treat adults. But if you have no capacity to soften to a child's pain, you're not treating anybody.
Yeah.
Right? Because and there are so many inner children walking into the therapy room that need just that soft, gentle presence.
Yeah.
Because they need that care and connection.
Yeah.
And to tell them, stop being this way, you're a problem,
Yes.
is again just getting them to fragment again and move away from themselves and be someone different so that they can earn their right to be your client.
Yes. Yes.
Which is a reenactment of trauma.
Yes.
That's exactly what's happened to them in their life.
Yes.
And what they need is, I see you, I'm here with you.
Yeah.
This is going to be really hard.
Yeah.
But you also make sense and you're not losing connection with me because you are this way.
Right. It's me.
And we're going to have to figure out a way.
It's me and you against this challenge. It's me and you against this little capacity. It's not me against you.
Yeah. So like the teaching, a lot of times, like there's a lot of psychoeducation going on for these clients. Like, well, what do you expect? How am I supposed to pick up the phone if at 2 a.m. you call me, then I won't be able to.
Can I tell you a horror story just because I have it and I love it?
Yes, please do. Please do.
When I was going through a particularly hard time, she told me, I'm here for you. Call me when you need me. So I called her because I needed her and she wasn't answering the phone.
Yeah.
So I called and called and called and called and called and called until she had her husband pick up the phone to tell me that they're on a family vacation and she can't come to the phone. That shame.
Wow.
That shame.
Yeah. Like, I just ruined your family vacation.
I ruined your family
and also,
vacation. Yeah. Right. As if.
You tell somebody with an attachment challenge, call me anytime.
Yeah.
I mean, you just gave them permission. They can't know what's not an emergency.
Right.
They can't know that in their nervous system. Like maybe the therapist is thinking, you'll call me when you have an emergency.
Yeah.
In the nervous system, everything's an emergency.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now the therapist is going to be like, you woke me up for that, right?
Yeah.
And then you're the problem, and you're like, see,
and never mind the problem
anymore.
I've just been shamed all over again. I've just been told that my needs are ridiculous.
I've been shamed. I ruined this relationship. I caused,
the rupture.
Whatever happens next in this therapy. It's all my fault.
Yeah.
And and that's why trauma informed, trauma informed has to mean I get this piece that your nervous system has been wired in a way where you've always been just wired to protect yourself from emergency and threat.
Yeah.
So the smallest, what we know now as something small, hopefully, when we fine-tune this nervous system through good help, now we know that's something that's smaller, that's something that does feel more like an emergency, but I don't have that felt sense. And we do rely so much on the therapist to be that presence for us. So I think what comes out of this, if we could speak to all therapists on behalf of these clients, is we really have to study this and understand how delicate this is and to really be so clear about what I'm actually going to be able to do for you. To offer somebody I'll pick up the phone whenever, when you know that you're not going to be able to do that.
When you know that you're not. And
you want to be kind.
How many people do that in relationship? They pretend because they can't handle disappointment.
Nobody does that.
I can't handle disappointing you in this minute, so I'm going to say, sure, no problem. And then I'm going to disappoint you soon, and you're going to, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and what that does, it's not this thing that the client just gets over. It's not this thing that's just passing.
No.
It's going to have such a deep impact.
Yes.
It's going to hit in the deepest of places.
Yes.
And it's so unfair. It's so unfair. So what you would have rather heard probably even though the anxious parts of you, the anxiously attached parts of you would have been let down, but you would have known so
Mhm.
clearly that's not something that I could do for you. And I want to hear about how that's impacting you now.
Yes.
And let me help
Yes.
you through that process rather than, oh, yeah, we'll do that anytime.
Yeah.
And then you're met with abandonment again.
Yes. Yes. I remember it was in the beginning days of internet, and I used to email her. And then when I was sad when she didn't email me back, and she would give me this whole explanation about how her husband took the laptop and only comes home at night. And honestly, little tiny Tzipora doesn't really care about your laptop. She just needs to hear that, oh, you really
Right.
wanted to hear from me right away. I know it's hard. Like, I know that now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like sharing all that information, like now you know the husband's there,
Right.
that's no point. All that,
As a
there's jealousy,
as
there's
a
triggers
therapist,
with
I will sometimes say
yeah,
first it's like, oh, like being with the pain of my lack of response. Sometimes I will ask them, because my clients aren't only inner children, they're also adults. I said, do you think it would be helpful if I explained to you a little bit about what's been going on? And I think that's appropriate, right? But
yes, I
not
love
to
that.
excuse the
I
pain,
love that.
not to say therefore you shouldn't be sad.
Yes. Right. Right. Right.
Like,
And also like if we could just say that psychoeducation
yeah.
means that the client has an ability now to be consciously in their
Yes.
prefrontal
Yes.
cortex
Yes.
and actually take in information and
Yeah.
process it.
Yeah.
When they're in this overwhelmed,
Yeah.
abandoned feeling state, and now we're like psychoeducating them, they're not listening, they can't hear,
Yeah.
they have no idea what you're talking about,
Mm.
they're just feeling intense shame,
Yes.
and they just want to get out of this moment as fast as possible,
Yeah.
but nothing lasts there, there's no change
Yeah.
there, and then it's going to happen again, and the therapist is going to get
Yeah.
frustrated. Didn't I tell
Right.
you X, Y, and Z? But the client wasn't there,
Right. And even
right?
if they were there, it
So
doesn't
no,
take
you didn't
one
tell them
tell.
anything.
Even if they were there, it doesn't take one telling to rewire
Yes,
a
we
system.
need many,
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
connections, right?
So during the time that I was seeing this therapist for a few years, I was also trying a whole bunch of different things. Sometimes it was better, sometimes it was worse. I also had two more children along the way. And it was bad, and I think I already described why. I think it's also understandable why I stayed for that long, because of the connection that I was feeling. I finally came to a point where I
Oh, Tzipora, please don't just skip over that. I'm sorry to keep slowing you down. That's huge for everyone to hear
that you stayed and
because
then
so many people
suffer.
feel shame that I'm staying.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah, could you just speak for that? Like,
Yeah.
wait, I'm in this relationship that's causing me all this.
Yeah.
Why am I still
Right.
there? Yeah,
She used to say to me, "You're treating me like an addiction."
I,
And it was. And then we could have a conversation about addiction. I was getting something from her that I wasn't getting anywhere else. We could talk about why I wasn't getting it. It could be it was accessible in other places, but I wasn't able to get it. I was getting something from her. I was getting a certain level of attunement, a level of attachment that I wasn't getting anywhere else. So to deprive myself of that felt like killing myself. I remember, like, the proof is when I finally decided to leave, it took a lot of strength out of me. When I was able to say, this is not good for me and this is a problem, I told her that I'm not going to speak to her for a year. And for the next many months, I was really not very functional. I ate a lot of mint chocolate chip ice cream and I watched a lot of Zir Hamed plays. Um,
1 second, just so I can
yeah,
understand. This is when it ended.
that's how
This is
I ended.
the therapy.
Yes,
You decided to end
I
it.
decided to end it. Yeah. What ended up
Okay.
happening actually is that I had already moved. I had moved away from where I was seeing her, but I kept traveling back to see her, and I wasn't feeling good, and I wasn't feeling good. And then I met this other woman, very charismatic, who I thought could be my therapist next. And I did one session with her, and in that session, she made it very clear what she thought of that therapist. I now know that that second one, I don't want to talk about a lot because it wasn't so much I mean, it impacted my attachment stuff a lot, but in a less subtle way. She was very, very critical of me and of my coping mechanisms. So the shame and the inner critic, like literally till today, sometimes my inner critic voice is that therapist, the second one. But because I kind of got this outside validation, yes, there's something going wrong with that first one. And that's when I said, okay, I won't, I knew that I would keep coming back. So I gave this thing, I'm not going to speak to her for a year. And she was like, but, and that was when I stopped seeing her.
Okay.
Yeah. So then I started with this one.
And one
Yeah.
second, do you have a gap before you start with
No,
this
I
one?
saw this one
Are you
once.
alone with no therapy?
No, 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 because I saw her one time. She
Oh,
gave me her opinion about that one. So I
okay.
said goodbye to her and I went to her.
Okay, got
Now
it.
this one,
But
yeah,
yeah, I was just gonna say because you were talking about the chocolate chips and the ice cream.
I was
This is
seeing
while
that
you're with
therapist
the
during
new
that time. I
therapist.
don't know how much I was talking about that because it was so
Oh,
much shame.
okay.
But
Okay,
it was
got
like,
it.
yes, she's a problem. Good for you that you left. And then we talked about other things.
But we're going from 100 in terms of that relationship to 0 very, very quickly. And we're cutting off this relationship and we're not talking to them for a year.
Right.
And that seems to, and that's not being processed or
No.
grieved, it sounds like.
No. Because it's like,
Okay.
no. Of course she's crazy. Like why? Like we don't talk about it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And if we could just put out there that even when a relationship is not good for us or not serving
Right.
us, there's a lot that we lose
Yeah.
when we end
Yes.
such a
Yes.
relationship. And just to stop it cold
Right.
turkey with no
100%. Right.
container for
Yeah.
grief
Yeah.
will definitely have
Yeah.
impacts.
Mint
Yeah.
chocolate chip ice cream is like a pretty good stand-in. Yeah. But yeah, that's true. Thank you for pointing that out. So I
Yeah.
immediately jumped into therapy with this woman who I felt very safe with because she had very strong boundaries. Such strong
Okay.
boundaries that she was downright nasty sometimes. And I thought at the time that boundaries meant specific rules that you keep. Today I know that boundaries means I know what's my business and what's not. Like when time was up, she would just like get on her phone, even though I was sitting there because time was up now. And I looked at that as, oh wow, she has such good boundaries because the other one could never finish the time. So because I was coming off of this experience, this one seemed safe to me. And the fact that she was criticizing me, literally criticizing me all the time, it was like, that felt familiar. Like she's so honest. All the things she's saying are true. All the things she's pointing out to me. I want to give one example and how confusing it was for me. And something came up that I had this thing on my arm and I went to the doctor and they said I should surgically remove it. And I understood, or they told me that it wasn't an emergency. Because of insurance reasons, it would have been more financially responsible to do it in 2 months because of the cycles, whatever. And I knew it was okay. It was totally okay to leave it. But I was pushing, I need to do it right now. And I know it's because I know what comes along with surgery, right? I know that I will be entitled to care and love, and that feels really nice. And I had to have it anyway, so
Wow.
let me have it now rather than later. She pointed out to me. So I wasn't that aware yet. First, I was like, no, it's my medical needs. And doctor said I need surgeries after surgery. So I was doing that. Like I wasn't fully aware of the fact that I wanted like the care that came with it. She helped me flesh that out. And she was right. 100% she was right. But then what am I left with? A puddle of shame. Because what's wrong with you that you would do a surgery for so much money that's not necessary just because you want attention? And honestly, what did I need? Oh, you so badly need to be taken care of, and this is an opportunity. It's so hard to wait. I know. I didn't have to have the
Right.
surgery then. She didn't have to give me permission to have the surgery then. She just needed to not shame me for having a basic human need. I know that now. Then I joined her in the critique of me. I joined her in the how
Yeah.
crazy are you? My gosh, that's crazy to have surgery.
And yeah, you would pay a lot of money to have that care,
That exact
right? That's how
100%.
much it's worth.
And it was worth it. Exactly. I love that. I didn't have to, but if I could have, there's no shame in that either. There's no shame in that either. It's okay. If
Yeah.
this is a need that I have, I always tell my clients, like, it didn't break a halacha and it didn't break a law. Enjoy. It's okay. Stop shaming everybody for everything. Right? It's not such a big deal. It's fine.
Yeah.
If I would have to rob the bank to have it, then we could talk about it. Yeah. So I was so confused because there were these things that she was putting words to. So she was helping me clarify what was going on for me when I didn't know, but it was with a layer of shame. It was like, you're doing this because you want attention. What's wrong with you?
Can I, can I ask? I don't know if this is true for
Yeah.
you. I totally hear what you're saying. First of all, before I get to, I totally love what you're saying because you're now presenting the opposite extreme,
Yeah.
which is really good for us
Yeah.
to tune into here. So thank you. I wanted to like ask you, this feels more familiar to you,
100%.
right?
Yeah.
From the way you're
Yeah.
brought up. So like, here's the professional
Mhm.
who you are getting something different than from when you grew up.
Yeah.
And you're also getting something very, very familiar. So I wonder if there's parts of you, I know that I've encountered this before, who are like kind of like ashamed to deviate from the way you're
Right.
growing up,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Like we're like, oh, I'm supposed to have feelings now
Right.
and be okay with them.
Right.
I
Exactly.
don't know,
Exactly.
right? That's a
Yeah.
massive
Right.
shift from
Mm-hmm.
it almost separates me from my family, right? Or from
And
the
parts of my
self
family, yeah.
of
Yeah.
of me, who the way I grew up. So here I have an opportunity to keep that
Yeah.
in a way
Yeah.
and like stay
Yeah.
with help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, like this could be
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. She actually let
Wow.
me go after 2.5 years. She said, I don't think I can help you. I thought she's so amazing. Look at her. She knows her limits because the first one didn't let me go. And she said,
Hmm.
I think there's like a 12-step program for emotions or something. Like basically, you're nuts. I can't help you. Go. Oh, was it around that time or a little bit before? Okay, now I have a story that's seemingly unrelated to my therapy journey, but is very related to my therapy journey. It was around this time. It was a few months before she concluded that she can't help me, so I was still seeing her. My son, the same one whose birth triggered that anxiety, had a very, very serious medical situation. The signs were very subtle. Till today, people ask me, how did that get diagnosed? It's something that people die from because it gets so severe without getting diagnosed. The signs were subtle, but they were there. And I kept on calling the doctor because I was very worried. And it was a pediatrician that had been recommended when I moved to this town. And he was very good. And he kept on telling me, it's a virus, go for an x-ray, it's nothing. And I kept on calling and they kept on telling me, no, we already spoke to you, it's fine. And then he developed a fever, which I knew already from a previous experience that that's serious on top of that other symptom. And I was just so uneasy. I was noticing my unease. And I thank Hashem for sending my sister as a shliach to save my son's life. I really believe she did, because I was talking to my sister on the phone and I said, something is wrong and the doctor's telling me that he's okay. And my sister said, what is your gut telling you? Please note, this is a sister that grew up in the same house as me. So the idea that like every nervous system is different, okay?
Yeah.
She said, what is your gut telling you? And I remember like, it was like something hit me. It was like, I have a gut. There had been many times where I had a gut instinct, and my training taught me to say, again, the training, the way I absorbed it, because other siblings didn't absorb it. The training, the way I absorbed it, was that gut feeling, there's no such thing. You do the right thing. It doesn't matter what you feel inside. So even though there were times that I was aware of what I was feeling inside, I deliberately ignored it. This was my child's life at stake. So when my sister said, what is your gut telling you? I said, I think the doctor's making a mistake and I have to go to a different doctor. For me, the idea was so preposterous. Here was the professional, the recommended professional. He was telling me one thing, and me, little me without a high school diploma, is going to stand up and say you're wrong? I was discussing this with a friend and she's like, really? Like, I always override my gut. Like, how were you able to do that? I was like, no, no, no. My child's life was at stake. I hope you're never in this situation, but if you ever are, you're gonna be able to do this. She's like, yeah, I will. So
Yeah.
Baruch Hashem, I remember so clearly how I marched into the doctor's office and I demanded antibiotic. Whatever the case is, I marched in and I said what I needed to say, and then I took him to a second doctor who examined him, promptly sent him to the emergency room, and Baruch Hashem, the thing was caught, and he is okay, and he's great. That experience, so it took some time for it to percolate, so it ended up being the beginning of an extended journey with my son. During that time, I had to really learn to advocate for him in many systems, because that's what we have to do, right, in medical systems. Something that I had never been able to do for myself, because, what do I matter? My voice, what do I even know? I'm stupid, I'm young. They know better, they're trained, they're recommended. But this is my kid's life at stake, so you're not going to mess with me. And over the next year or two, I really had to harness strength that I never knew I had. I used to watch myself and be like, who's that woman? And that really transformed me. And that's when I was suddenly able to say, wait a second. So I was in therapy with these brand name therapists, and I don't have any education, so they know better, but maybe they don't. Like, maybe just like the doctor made a big fat mistake with my child, those therapists are making mistakes. Maybe it's not me. And it was like,
Wow.
and that's when Hashem sent me my third professional. There were other little ones along the way, but the third long-term one, who was not a licensed professional, but she was teaching something that resonated with me. And I guess I went with my gut, even though I was terrified because I didn't believe I could be helped. I went to see her, and that really is what I look at as my before and after. So needing to advocate for my son woke up that part of me that advocates. And then I had it. It was hard. It was a lot harder to advocate for myself in many ways, but it showed me what I'm capable of. And it's actually something I use a lot with my clients when they feel so helpless to help themselves because who are they? Like, imagine you were your child. It even helps with like bringing up old stuff. Like, what if your child was with you, right? Because I'm blessed that my clients all have a real natural tenderness, either to their own children or if they're not mothers yet, they have siblings, they have students. There's that, they all have that love to give. They just don't know that they're deserving of it themselves.
Yeah. And it's quite complicated to activate it for ourselves. But here you saw,
Yeah.
I have this
Yeah.
capacity, right? If I would have told you before that, do you have the capacity to
Yeah.
advocate? You would tell me no way.
No, it would be like, it was funny because I would say, no, why would I? Like, I don't know. I wouldn't even realize it's a lack of capacity to advocate. It was that belief that like what I knew and thought didn't matter. So why would I speak
Mm-hmm.
up to somebody who knows more?
Yeah. And is there something around authority that's
So I
very
realized
powerful?
that's what I came to see then. That authority always
Yeah.
knows better. Parents know better, teachers know better, doctors know better, therapists know better.
So you've been kind of wired that way,
Right.
especially if your feelings are dismissed or
Yeah.
ignored or shamed
Yeah.
inadvertently, or
Yeah.
people who have that, done
Yeah.
maliciously. So now our own sense is off and we need to just blindly take in what the authority is telling us.
Yeah.
They're teaching us how to feel, they're teaching us what to do and when to do.
Exactly.
So when we're faced with authority, there's this like anxiety or fear, maybe,
And I guess there's anxiety and fear, but it's
around
not.
not trusting myself and trusting
So
them. You need to just
I'm not
trust
even
them.
realizing that I'm not trusting myself. Like obviously I'm not trusting
Yeah.
myself.
It's just automatic
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of
Right.
trust. Like there's nothing else
Yeah.
here. There's just the
Yeah.
authority.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why like on this podcast, like I imagine I'll get a lot of flack for it. We talk about how the clients are the experts with the lived
100%.
experience,
100%.
right?
I tell my clients all the time, you hired me. Like you're the boss. Like you tell me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And uh, it has like a little bit like there's sadness coming up for me too, because why should a client have to teach a therapist how to do their job? Right? If we really think about it. But that's really just where we're at, right? We're like, clients are like, no, 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 like this is what I
So I
need.
think,
And the therapists are like, but that's not okay.
right. So
Right. And it's very tricky.
when the response is, but that's not okay, then we have a problem. But when
Yeah.
a client needs to teach me what she needs because I don't yet have that in my toolbox. I had a
Yeah.
client who really needs me to not talk most of the session. It's really hard for
Yes.
me. I love to talk. And I've learned to do that for her. And then
Yeah.
she apologizes for making me change. And I feel so sorry that that's her experience. I'm like, thank you. You're helping me
Yeah.
grow. You're helping me show up for you and others in the world. It's a good skill for me to learn. So when it's
Yeah.
like that, I don't think it's a problem when our clients teach us how to be
Exactly.
therapists. It's when we're not willing to
Exactly.
listen.
That's
Yeah.
right. Exactly. It's not a problem. But what I'm saying is like sometimes the clients already have such an
Yeah.
experience. They've been through therapist to
Right.
therapist to
Right.
therapist. They think they're the
Yeah.
problem. They don't know if they're allowed to bring something up.
Right.
They're asking permission. Can I say
Yeah.
something? Is it
Yeah.
okay? We go through that whole dance. And then they finally say something, bracing for like what's going to
Right.
come. And to be met with like, oh, I hear
Yeah.
you. Let me try that. And now the shame, like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Now you're going to change.
Right.
I'm going to become a burden on
Right.
you.
Right.
And ultimately, you're just going to get
You're
rid
going
of
to get
me
rid of me because I'm going to be a
because
burden.
I'm just,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, I'm just going to be this huge burden. And like, I want to also just say, like, you're naming something so beautiful because, like, sometimes my students, I teach advanced practice, and like how to practice therapy. So obviously a student wants to like, okay, tell me what to do.
Right.
Like, let me go into the therapy room and teach me what to do.
Right.
And you just highlighted such a beautiful example of like, I need to have a heart. I need to show up. I need to care. And my clients are, I need to have skill, obviously. I need to train. I need to be well read. All of that's obvious. Now, in terms of like, what's the right way to do therapy? The right way is don't shame my clients and hurt them
Right.
and do all
Yeah.
that. Okay. And if I do, to repair,
Yeah.
fine. But now this particular client wants to talk a lot. Other clients may say, please just like fill in
Yeah.
gaps when you
Yeah.
have silence.
Yeah.
Like, please, I can't sit in silence.
Yeah.
And for each client, they were right for themselves
Yes. Yeah.
because in their lived experience,
Yeah.
there's something around quiet that's overwhelming and scary,
Yeah.
and they need you to
Yeah.
fill it.
And so,
And for that particular client, maybe there's something about being heard
yeah.
that's so important. So
And,
it's
and,
really taking in what they're saying. Yeah.
and so it's funny because like in my head, I'm having this like this chatter of people saying, but you can't have this expectation. I mean, like, you're a grown up. You want to, like, thinking that people would tell the clients that they should accommodate, they should recognize that a therapist is is a human with a limited capacity. It's so funny, the conversations that go on. And to that, there's something that I wanted to say, which is life is so challenging. And especially the people that come to me are already grown up with a lot of responsibilities, and they don't really have a place in their life where their needs are the most important. They don't really have a space in their life where the nuances of their needs are the most important. And that is what I strive to provide. And I don't always get it right because I'm very human. But my goal is to show you that you matter in the tiniest ways that you might not even realize and you might not even think matters. I'm going to read that on your face, and I'm not going to let you keep telling me that story if it's giving you distress. Like, right, the people that think that they have to keep talking because otherwise they're an uncooperative client or they're treatment resistant, right? So they have to keep talking. I'm like, no, 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 we're not going to do this now, right? So I see it as a very maternal, right? Like, I know about my little child something that she doesn't know. I could protect her from something she doesn't know she needs protection from, and I strive very much to do that.
And is that coming from your own experience?
So also,
right? As knowing your
yeah.
nervous system, knowing your young parts and what they needed helps inform how to sense
So I
someone
have to
else's
be humble
needs.
to know that the thing that I needed isn't necessarily the thing that they need, but they need to know that their needs are seen and matter.
That's right. So would you say that a lot of your journey really deepens your ability to be present for your clients?
100%. 100%. Sometimes my client will share a particular challenge or something. One of my weaknesses is that I resonate with every single client, and usually on a practical level. Like, I have a story that's heavy that is really similar to what you're sharing right now. And I hold that inside, and it gives me a certain, I believe that my clients sense that I really, really get it and I really, really care. So this is actually, I wonder if we could get into it. The concept of self-disclosure has been an important one for me because that's what ultimately helped me with the third person that I went to. But this idea of I get it on such a deep level, and that connect, even if I'm not saying that I get it. The fact that I'm sitting with that level, and honestly, I really believe I don't have to, I say that it's a weakness because I don't think I have to have my own story in the room with me to really show up for you. And I mostly have learned to leave my story out and bring my heart in, but it's a balance. So yes, it absolutely informs my work. Sometimes the people that I have worked for, even though they're very kind, have thought that I'm a little excessive in my sensitivity, and I don't care. Like, I'm going to do that. Like, I had once
Yeah.
somebody,
Oh, can you say that again?
people that I work with sometimes think I'm excessive in my sensitivity, and it's something I'm proud of. Yeah. I had once
Right.
I had
Because they're kind of telling you, be different again. Right? They're kind of
the people that I
saying, be
work
someone
with.
else as a
I think
therapist.
also, so even if they don't need me
Yes.
to be different, because I have been blessed to work with really good people, even if they don't need me to be different, they don't understand. Like, they don't get it. Like, I had once, for some reason, somebody got my personal email, and that's how we were communicating before we actually met. And I was still with the agency that had like the encrypted office email. So I asked my boss, like, do I have to switch over only to that, or could I wait till she comes in or till I have an opportunity to email her or something? And he's like, yeah, you could wait, but like, why? Why don't you just tell her to use that other email address? And let me test you. And do you know why I didn't want to tell her to use the other email address? I wanted to wait until I had a reason to email her, and then I would do it from that one,
Yeah.
because that's
You're testing me
rejection.
to come up with the answer?
Yeah,
Absolutely. It's abandonment.
yeah,
And also, you did something wrong
yeah,
by emailing me on this
yes,
email.
yes,
You were bad.
yeah. So there's my experience helping me be sensitive, because I would have those kind of, like,
Yeah.
if I would drop the courage to come and tell my therapist that that felt bad, and she'd be like, what? No, I was just switching the email address. It wasn't a big deal. So now
Yeah.
I'm
You know,
rejected,
you
and I'm alone in the rejection. So I don't want to do any of that.
so first of all,
Yeah.
yeah. Can I tell you what's happening for me now?
Yeah.
There are parts of me that are resonating so strongly with your sensitivity.
Yeah.
And let's just say that it's a lonely place to be, right?
Oh,
When we have this type of sensitivity and we're in a field which really teaches to like not lean into that and to kind of lean much more on the side of like distance and boundary and all of those things. And then here I'm coming in, and you're coming in with this like approach that just sounds like so non-traditional and not classic, and also potentially dangerous. Like everyone gets super scared, when we bring our heart into the room.
I love being dangerous.
And yeah,
Yeah.
and for you to like say it with such pride, like, this is me, this is my sensitivity, and this email thing, I know I could picture my colleagues who would eye roll the same thing. Why are you caring
Yeah.
about such a email? This is not a big deal.
Right.
But no, it's a massive, massive deal.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about it enough. And
Mm.
that's why we're here on this podcast, I hope,
Yeah.
where like people can hear
Yeah.
that, no, that is a big deal.
Yeah.
If you would do that, that person would be in bed
Yeah.
for days on
And
end,
even if
shaming
they
themselves.
wouldn't, why should they have to have that shower of shame?
Yeah.
Even if they're over it, and
Yes.
even if it's only a few minutes, why should I do that to them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they need that sensitivity,
Yeah.
right? They can I say they deserve it? I hope so.
Absolutely. So
Right?
I
They
believe
deserve
I
that. Why
believe it's
not?
our
Like,
birthright. Yeah. And I want to say that
so like
there's
these
many
things are so
things.
nuanced.
Yeah, there's many things that I won't get right, and there's many
Yeah.
things that people are sensitive to, and I don't realize, perhaps because I'm not sensitive to them. But in
Yeah.
that case, what I strive to do
Mm-hmm.
is to be open when they tell me, and then be with them in that experience,
Yeah.
right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So if we're viewing, I guess it comes down to how do we view the human? If we really think about it,
Yeah.
I think it comes down to like how do we view human beings and symptoms,
Yeah.
let's say.
Yeah.
If we view them as, behaviors, as, I don't know, personality, I don't know, something like that. So then it's just like no big deal,
Right.
potentially. But
Uh,
if we're viewing them as they really want to feel okay and safe and loved and
Yeah.
cared for, and if they're signaling something is landing a certain way for them
Mm-hmm.
through their behavior or their dysregulation, whatever words you want to use,
Yeah.
then that's something that needs to be met with a lot of compassion and care.
Yes.
Of like, I wonder, like we could get really curious, like I wonder what happened inside of you now.
Mm.
Like I just wonder what that was.
Yeah.
Because I come from a place where I can view the human
Yeah.
as someone who wants to be loved,
Yeah.
wants to give love, right? Wants to be cared for and give care back,
Yeah.
and wants good things in life. And if they're not feeling it right now, it's because something's getting in the way and trying to protect them in some way. They're feeling threatened or something's going on. Because the baseline is, I just want to like be with you and be present.
Yeah.
And if I can't, something's coming up for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Doesn't have to be so complicated, honestly.
Yeah, but it's like I'm finding myself trying so hard to defend it.
Yeah, I know.
And it's
I
like,
have to say, I'm listening to
why?
you, and I have so much compassion. After I worked with that woman who, I'm gonna jump ahead because I want to tell you about the work that I do now, because
Yeah,
I really
please.
found my professional home, and I don't feel like I have to defend this. I have to defend it in the certain world, so I just don't hang out there so much. I actually have a
Right,
group of
exactly.
colleagues. We had a group supervision for a while now, then it stopped, and we have a WhatsApp group which isn't very active, but the title of it is We Love Loving Them. That's
Love it.
yeah. So this woman that I saw who wasn't licensed, so what happened for me is that licensed bad, unlicensed good, because that was my experience. I discovered that she had boundaries, and she was also really kind. In hindsight, so she did a lot of like, first of all, a lot of behavior management, which in at the time perhaps was helpful. It definitely didn't help with like the shame situation. I had to deal with that afterwards. But at the time it was good. It helped me in certain areas, managing behaviors that I wasn't proud of. But she also did a lot of like challenging the inner critic, a lot of talking back. Like that was her method, and it really, really worked for me. And it was at that point that I said, oh my gosh, it's possible to go from hating yourself so much to being your friend. And that's when it came out in my family that I had to go to work, and I hadn't worked before. I was like, this is what I want to do. So obviously it was a journey till I got there. When I started school, I didn't tell anyone that I was going to go for an MSW because I still couldn't believe that I had the audacity to do that. But I had to, as I said, I had to start with my GED. It was a journey, because it was very much like I used to hate myself and now I don't. And I really believe that the reason that my experience with her was so healing is that she was very attuned and she really saw me and she would like switch direction. I don't think she was very well trained, but she naturally had this attunement and she saw me. She would change what she was saying if she saw my face. You know what I mean? Like she was with me. She was really, really with me. And I think that that was incredibly healing. So that lasted for a bunch of years. I went, then I went to college and then I got into legit attachment therapy. And that's like my biggest model, probably my best supervision. I'm also in supervision, a lot of supervision, but the attachment therapy that I myself had is the biggest model and the biggest support in my journey as a therapist. So college was brutal for me. You weren't my professor. I would literally walk out of class and pace the hallways and talk to myself, remind myself of my value, remind myself that they don't know everything and I could still be a different kind of therapist. They were good people. And it was my first introduction to people that were ethical, kind, and licensed. So it was a good experience. It was like, wow. But that level of sensitivity that we just spoke about, I didn't see that there. And I knew without knowing anything much about attachment wounds, I knew that all the stuff we're talking about is not it. It's what happened around it. It's what happened before it. It's what happened when you talked about it. And everybody was talking about the thing and it wasn't the thing. And I knew it wasn't the thing. It wasn't the hormones, it wasn't the anxiety, it wasn't even the borderline personality disorder. It was the what's happened. I didn't have the words. I had one class. I remember one thing that the professor said in one class in my master's. It was a trauma class. It was one semester. And he quoted some research that said that when children are sexually abused, what happens with them later, like how much it affects them or, how well they do, doesn't depend on what happened, doesn't depend on who did it, doesn't depend on how long it went on for. It depends on what was the reaction of the first person they told. And that is a concept that I'm so grateful that so many people today know, maybe not enough, resonated for me really, really deeply. And I knew that's the kind of therapist I want to be. I didn't feel very supported. I still found that a lot of the therapy was directed at behaviors. I remember when I was sent to DBT, I remember like years back, and I went because I was going to do whatever it took. Look at me, I'm so brave, I'm in therapy. And I remember, and it was a good DBT situation. And I remember saying, I know what to do. Now make me feel better.
Yeah.
That didn't help me feel better. So I want to say that right after I graduated, I discovered AEDP, which is a modality that harnesses the relationship itself. It's not that it recognizes that the relationship is important in order to do the work. The relationship is the work. So all of these micro connections and micro rejections are on the table. We talk about making the implicit explicit and making the explicit experiential. We talk about what's happening right now between me and you here. So all the stuff that we're talking about packaged in a model that could be taught and that could be experienced. So I have supervisors from there. I do trainings from there all the time. So Baruch Hashem, I do feel very supported in this kind of work. Like what I just shared with you about that email, I have so many colleagues who would celebrate that with me. So I feel
Yes.
I feel very, very lucky. I also want to say that a lot of my personal healing came about through relationships in my real life. But I also recognize that the only way I was able to let in the goodness of those relationships was because of the intense therapy that I did. The good intense therapy that I finally did. Because before that there would be a lot of shame, there would be a lot of blocking, there would be a lot of defensiveness, there would be a lot of fighting because I couldn't acknowledge the fact that they couldn't give me what I needed or whatever. So I really believe very, very strongly that healing exists in relationship, not necessarily in therapeutic relationship, but relationships can be therapeutic, and we need the therapy in order to access the real life healing in relationships.
Yes. I love what you're saying. I love what you're saying around the hurt. I think what you're basically saying is the hurt happens in
Yeah,
relationship and the healing will happen in
yeah,
relationship. And it can happen. And there's so much hope.
yeah,
Even when, right here, we have a live example. Tzipora is here sharing a story around how bumpy that road was to get the healing in relationship and not giving up.
yeah.
whatever was in there, not giving up and staying and staying and staying and really feeling so much shame and pain through the whole process
Yes.
till you found the right help, to be able to say, like, I really was able to heal so much
Yeah.
by having the right help.
Yeah.
And you're also saying how not always when we have good people around can we receive
Right.
what they have to offer when we're in such a state.
Right.
I just want to honor that for a minute, because I think actually what a lot of people's nervous systems do when they've been through similar things that you've been through is they actually get attracted to
Yeah.
the people who are not the good, quote unquote, the good, healthy, safe ones,
Okay.
because it's so familiar in
Right.
some ways, or for some other reasons,
Yeah.
they're pulled more that way. And the good people that are very, very close, right, are
Yeah.
just, I can't receive,
I
but I can
right.
crave attachment from the other ones for some
I
reason.
want to say in my experience, I'm blessed that I was surrounded by people who I do believe were genuinely healthy people, but and good and wanting to give, but they weren't trauma therapists. So
Mm-hmm.
they were human beings, and I wanted something from them, and I couldn't express it properly, and I would get very reactive. So I think I needed to understand myself and have an experience where my experience was okay, and it wasn't endangering a relationship. So I hear what you're saying, but it wasn't my experience. I'm assuming other people have similar experiences too. That it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
I was also attracted to unavailable people for sure. I look back at my earlier years,
Mm-hmm.
and for sure, like now reconnecting with people that were like my biggest supports back then. I'm like, what? They're so invalidating. So
Mm-hmm.
that's actually really been really interesting. But even the people that are so kind and so validating and so willing to be there, my nervous system would go like, oh, that's not safe. I can't really trust you to be here.
Yeah, it's
It would be like,
totally not safe.
you must be unhealthy if you're that loving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's right, and that's your system's way of
Yeah.
protecting
Do we have
from them
time for
getting
me
closer.
to say one more thing about
Yes,
not giving up?
yes,
I,
please.
I really want to say it because it's about my parents and it's about my journey and it's about religion and spirituality, which I'm giving a talk about tomorrow night. I'm so excited. My professor invites me back to talk to her class. It really is. It really is. So it's really interesting. I want to preface this by saying that this is my experience, even though it's my experience in my actual memory. My sister, who's very close to my age, was like, I had a different childhood than you. My childhood included being told we're Iberlanda Shiiden. It doesn't matter how we feel, we do what's right.
Mhm.
And I really believe that my parents were raised by survivors who needed to not care about how they felt and just do what's right. And I really genuinely believe that was a really good idea for them. But for me, who wasn't growing up in the shadow of war, who had a lot of big feelings, being told over and over again that it doesn't matter how you feel, you just do the right thing, was damaging. Because now there's a problem with how I'm feeling. So part of my journey was that 2.5 years ago, I took a trip to Preshburg, to the cave of the Chasam Sofer, who I'm descended from. So that was a big part of this. And I said, I asked Hashem to help me like separate out and what's Yiddishkeit. Because I really, really want to be a good Jew. And I don't think that to be a good Jew, I have to suppress my feelings. I think that there's room for me to recognize how I feel and take that into consideration when making decisions. And I can still value my heritage, my specific Iberlandische heritage, and it doesn't have to be tangled up with trauma and tangled up with invalidation. And I was reflecting recently on my journey, and I was like, even that thing that I was told, we just do what's right, I have a capacity to keep plugging even when things were so hard. And you know what? I'm going to give my upbringing credit for that. Like
Yeah,
my parents put that in me so strong that you just do the right thing. So yes, there was damage to that because what about when I'm not feeling it? What about when I'm feeling something else? And there was healing that I needed to do from that. But I want to recognize the complexity and the gratitude that I have for that heritage, for that pride, for that strength. And it's not a contradiction to being soft and sensitive.
absolutely. You're able to take the beauty in it, right, and live it and
Yeah.
feel it,
Yeah.
and it's such a strong part of you that doesn't have to be let go of, and that's such an important message
Yeah.
to everyone. We're also scared again of like letting go of everything and becoming someone new and all this.
Yeah.
There's a way to integrate all
Yes.
of the beauty
Yeah.
and let go of the burden of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's so much beauty that we can hold on to.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Tzipora, any last words that you want to share? Any messages that you want to make sure that we get in before we go?
No, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this. I'm not sure if you noticed the choking up parts because this was big. And I'm so
Yeah.
grateful. Like there were so many times where I wanted to like come out and share my therapy story. And I'm just so glad that I waited this long, because I feel like I have so much more perspective about it. And I feel like it's actually like, sorry if it's too cliched, but it really informs who I am today, and it really made me who I am today. I don't like, I think like for my parents, 100% love and forgiveness. For the therapist, not so much. Like if you're going to be a professional in this field, you better make sure you're not hurting people. So even if it means 4.5 years of the same, you get better supervision, or you have an open conversation about the fact that things are not looking so good, right? So that's a little harder to forgive. It helps me. It helps me know what my clients need, and for that I'm really grateful, because Baruch Hashem, I do believe I'm making a difference.
Oh, you definitely are.
Thank you.
We're definitely hearing about it,
Yeah.
if I can say publicly. And I also want to say, first of all, thank you for coming here. This is something that's your sacred story, and to share it with the world, to make it, with such passion. It's so clear that you live this. This is not your job. Like, you live this, it's in your bones. You just want to be there and present and giving to the world. And that's really special to watch. Like, you can just feel the energy of that.
Thank you.
And to share so vulnerably with everybody such deeply personal ideas. I don't have words for the gratitude that I have for me to be the podcast that you're coming on to share the story, when we haven't even launched the podcast yet. That you have that trust in me, is maybe that's what that is. I don't even know.
It is
It
trust
is
in you. You're
beautiful.
doing really,
So
really
thank
good
you.
work, and you are very trustworthy. And it's crazy how much you could tell from a person just by how they respond to anonymous questions.
And thank you for following the questions. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to tell everybody that here we have all-star therapist who clients look up to. And she has been through this journey. So there is so much light and so much hope to heal. And like so many times we get the question, is it really possible? Is it really possible?
Yeah.
But I had so many negative experiences. And we see that, yes, it truly, healing is possible. Of course, that's humanly is possible as well. Tzipora, it's been an honor. Really
Thank you so
appreciate it.
much.
What a fabulous conversation with Tzipora. Let's take a moment to pause here and just check if this episode stirred something inside of you. Maybe you recognize yourself in some of Tzipora's story. Maybe there are big emotions here. Grief, maybe anger, relief. That makes sense. What Tzipora shared touches places that are often invisible, unnamed, and deeply personal. One of the most important messages woven throughout this conversation is, struggling in therapy does not mean you are broken. Wanting connection does not make you needy. And sensitivity is not something to outgrow. It's something to be understood and protected. Healing from attachment trauma doesn't happen by forcing independence or silencing needs. It happens through safety, attunement, and in relationships where your experiences are taken seriously, even when it's messy, confusing, or hard to articulate. If you're a client listening, I hope this episode helps you feel less alone and less ashamed of what you've needed. And if you're a therapist, I hope it invites reflection on how powerful and how delicate our role truly is. Thank you for listening, and thank you for staying all the way to the end. This has been the H.I.P podcast, and until next time, remember, when it comes to healing, humanly is possible.